After 1 year of pandemic in Italy, after having to leave Milan and going back to my hometown, after having to give up about my dreams to have a normal university life, after a lot of things, I was tired to stay stuck in my hometown. And so in March, with a friend of mine, I decided to go to Bulgaria, and I stayed there 2 months. For this reason, I want to make a comparison of how the pandemic situation is managed and how it's perceived in the two countries. This video will be divided in 3 parts. The first part will be about the numbers, the data and the rules. The second part will be about the people behavior, and the third part will be about my personal thoughts after spending some time in Bulgaria. Starting with the data, you can see that Italy has 4 million cases, Bulgaria has 400,000 cases, but these data are pretty useless if we read them like this, because Italy has like almost 10 times the population of Bulgaria. So let's talk about the total cases on 1 million population, so the comparison. And here we can see that the numbers are similar. If we go to the deaths are a little bit different, because Italy has 2,000 and Bulgaria has 2,500. Of course, we are talking about deaths per 1 million of population. So Bulgaria has more deaths than Italy. Bulgaria has 25% more deaths than Italy. And then, if we see the tests, actually the situation is very different between the two countries. Italy made almost 3 times the tests that Bulgaria made. And this can give a reason for the number of deaths, for example. So even though the cases they seem less than Italy, actually the deaths are higher. Maybe it's just because a lot of cases weren't spotted in Bulgaria since they didn't make a lot of tests. But let's talk about the rules now. In Italy, especially in the previous period, so March, April 2021, in each region we had the curfew at 10. The masks were mandatory even outside. It was very limited, the circulation of people around the country. The restaurants were closed. Whereas in Bulgaria the situation was different. I'm talking with the past because now that I'm recording this video, I'm in May, in the end of May 2021, and a lot of countries are reopening, so the situation is like different from the moment in which we were inside the wave of COVID. So in Bulgaria, even in March and April, when I arrived there the 12th of March, restaurants were open until 10 p.m. There was no curfew, and it was possible to go around the country, and the masks were not mandatory outside.
Притихваме от преклонение. Пред нас са символите на априлското въстание.
Even some days after, when the country declared a 10 days lockdown because the cases were going up, even in that period, yeah, they closed the restaurants for 10 days, but there was still no curfew, and still it was possible to go around the country, still masks were not mandatory outside. After that, after these 10 days, Bulgaria started to reopen again everything, even though at the end of those 10 days, the cases were still high. Like, they were reaching the peak, they were not increasing day by day, but still the cases were pretty high. But let's talk now about the people's behavior. In Italy, the situation is similar to a lot of different Western Europe countries. So when I went to Bulgaria, it was a little bit weird to see how people behave in a different way. Because first of all, masks were not mandatory outside. People were not scared to be like in a place with a lot of people. I'm talking about Sofia, so I'm talking about the capital of Bulgaria. It was election period, so sometimes I met somebody who wanted to shake my hand and to convince me to vote for his party, even though I'm not Bulgarian. So I was like, yeah man, you can talk as much as you want with me, but I can't vote you. But people were shaking hands, people were hugging. Overall, the perception of COVID, the perception of danger was very low in comparison to Italy. it was common actually to see some people that were thinking that the COVID is kind of a conspiracy theory that is made by some powers to control us more. In Bulgaria, I think that they have the least percentage of people vaccinated in all the European Union, not because they don't have the vaccine doses, but just because people don't want to get vaccinated. Why? Because they don't perceive COVID as a danger as in other countries. And that's weird, because they had a lot of deaths. As we saw, in comparison to the population, they had more deaths than in Italy. But still, the perception was way different. And I noticed that when I came back to Italy. So I came back to Italy on the 11th of May. I came back there, and first of all I had to get used again to have the mask outside. But then, for example, I was meeting a friend and I was going to hug him, but this person was a little bit scared, or it was a little bit surprised by me hugging. In Italy, each time you are in a group, you will talk about COVID. It's such a topic, it's such into our life in this period. Still, people are talking a lot about COVID, people are stressed, people are depressed, and people are scared. There are a lot of different examples of this sad fact. For example, in Bulgaria you can go around outside without a mask. In Italy you would even see people that are driving alone in the car, inside the car with the mask, or people that are driving the bicycle alone with the mask. So people are scared. My grandfather, who is fully vaccinated, is still a little bit scared of hugging me, even though I'm trying to explain him that he completed all the 2 doses and cycle of vaccine, so he's protected. So how the situation was managed in the 2 different countries is very different. Most of the time in Italy the restaurants and bars were closed in the last year, let's say. In Bulgaria it was the opposite. Most of the time they were open. So the friend that came with me to Bulgaria, he actually is a cook, but he came with me to Bulgaria because he has lost his job in Italy, and it was not easy at all to find another job. Whereas in Bulgaria, maybe the restaurants were closed, like since March they were closed just 10 days. So I don't think that a lot of people lost their job. Okay, now let's jump to my personal thoughts. The first thing that I thought when I arrived in Bulgaria, when I stayed there, in the first weeks, I was like, why in Italy we were so unlucky? Why we had this situation so bad there? Why in some countries is so bad and in other countries is way better? Why? And to this I don't even have an answer. The second thing that I thought is that about Bulgaria is like that the government faced the situation with like a herd immunity technique. I mean, most of the people that I know in Sofia, they got the COVID. COVID hit Bulgaria. A lot of people got it. In fact, they had a lot more deaths than Italy. But still, maybe also because the government was very scared of the opinion of the people. It was election time. But still they managed to make it like to have less restrictions. And this was nice, at least to live there for a short period. I know that I'm saying this because for me the main problem of COVID it was that it completely changed my life. I had to leave the town, the city in which I was living. I had to change a lot of things. So for me the main problem of COVID were the restrictions. Whereas I know that some other people maybe has lost or had some problems, some health problems. So I completely also understand the other perspective. But just to tell you my perspective, arriving there and living there for 2 months was nice. Was nice to have a normal life, let's say, for these 2 months. I think that the situation is about making a trade-off about losses and about mental health of the people, about jobs getting lost and happiness of people. Yeah, in Bulgaria apparently there are more deaths than in Italy compared to the population, but it's not that it feels like a catastrophe. Maybe the difference is very, very narrow, but still they, when I say they, I talk about Bulgaria, they live a better life. I'm not judging the restrictions, I'm not judging them, because of course it is even easy to talk after. But for sure I start to have some thoughts. For example, it was nice to don't wear a mask outside, and actually even in Italy we are seeing right now that the national championship is ended. We saw some big celebration about Inter that won the trophy, Salernitana that got promoted to Serie A, with 1,000 supporters outside, and still after 2-3 weeks we don't have a rise of cases in the two provinces of Milan and Salerno. With this video I just want to start a discussion about this topic that is very delicate and of course is touching each of us. So that's the end of the video. First of all, sorry for my bad English. I know that I made some mistakes. For sure I made some mistakes, and for sure my pronunciation is not optimal. I'm not a guy from Oxford, I know it. But I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want more videos like that, please subscribe to the channel. Ciao ciao!